Good morning, everyone, and happy Saturday. How's everybody doing this morning?
All right, good.
Super. Real good. Thanks.
All right. Well, it is the first part of April, and at least in Michigan here, I was going to say we need more rain, but those of us in Michigan would say that is tongue in cheek. We do not need more rain for sure. But it is kind of a sprinkly April morning out there, but we've got some sunny skies in the background here for sure. And we are going to get into our fun program. So for those that are new to the Voices of HealthPointe, this is a Saturday morning, roughly 1 hour where all of us like-minded individuals on HealthPointe kind of get together. It's just fun. We are covering a variety of topics for those that are in different time zones or maybe just don't want to jump in and join live can get this on YouTube on Voices of HealthPointe. And there's a lot of episodes on there. So we do have a couple of docket items, and then we just go into some round robin discussion on things. So I've got a docket item called the hidden force that can destroy or transform your health over time. And then we've got Carol that is going to chat on a topic on, often we talk about how all things lead to HealthPointe, all roads lead to HealthPointe. And she's going to cover a segment from Dr. Chet on how HealthPointe leads the way and the marketplace tends to come second. So that should be a lot of fun talking about that. I'm going to jump in, and because I know you guys are all on pins and needles with a headline like that, right? The hidden force that can destroy or transform your health over time. Let's unpack it. So imagine a force that could sabotage nearly every aspect of your health, silently, persistently, and from the inside out. It doesn't break bones or tear muscles. It works quietly, creating chaos within your body and mind. Let's start by laying out the symptoms. Cognitive impairment, which is to say poor memory, reduced attention span, slower reaction time, impaired decision-making. Mood disturbances, irritability, stress, anxiety, depression, weakened immune system, increased susceptibility to illness and infection, metabolic dysfunction, insulin resistance, weight gain, increased risk of diabetes, cardiovascular issues, higher risk of hypertension, heart disease, and stroke, hormonal imbalances, disrupted cortisol regulation, reduced growth hormone production, and impaired reproductive hormones, physical performance decline, reduced muscle recovery, endurance, and strength, increased risk of chronic disease, Alzheimer's disease, obesity, diabetes, and cardiovascular conditions. Reading through that list, you might think it describes a person suffering from malnutrition, chronic illness, or perhaps even a life-threatening disease. But the reality, it is far more subtle and much more common. All of these symptoms are the result of something most of us have experienced at some point: insufficient sleep. So let's break it down. What happens when we don't sleep enough? Insufficient sleep can occur in short bursts or become chronic issues. Here's what happens as sleep deprivation progresses. Let's just kind of chunk this out and talk about 24 hours without sleep. Doesn't seem like a long time. You think about going without food or even water for 24 hours. But 24 hours without sleep, cognitive impairment sets in, memory, attention span, and reaction time suffer. Mood disturbances like irritability and emotional instability become apparent. Physical coordination begins to falter. About 48 hours without sleep. Impairment, including difficulty concentrating and poor decision-making. Hallucinations, mood swings, and emotional dysregulation become common. Speech may become slurred or disjointed. 72 hours without sleep. Intense hallucinations, paranoia, and disordered thinking. Memory becomes unreliable, and the brain struggles to distinguish reality from imagination. Physical coordination and reflexes are severely impaired. Beyond 72 hours, psychosis immune system breakdown, and potentially life-threatening conditions. Brain functions deteriorate to the point where it cannot maintain coherence. Chronic partial sleep deprivation. So this is maybe more common, which is to say regularly getting only 4 to 5 hours of sleep per night. Cognitive performance declines, emotional regulation weakens, metabolism suffers, and the risk of chronic disease increases. Cumulative sleep debt builds up over time, impacting all aspects of health and wellness. Before I move on, I want to give a little fun segue on that, or to kind of go down the rabbit hole on that topic of the chronic partial sleep deprivation, which again is saying 4 to 5 hours of sleep. As some of you know, I've done some certification in genetics, and there we all have genetic what's called SNPs, SNPs, which are variants. Some people call it mutations. That's better to call it a variant. But just a fun fact here, there is a rare genetic SNP. It's called SNP that enables some people to get full restorative sleep in 4 to 6 hours instead of the usual 7 to 8 hours. However, before you assume that you have that, it's estimated that only 1 to 3% of the world's population has that genetic SNP. So don't count on that. Get your sleep. All right, let's get into the science behind sleep deprivation and some of the chemical processes. When we sleep, several critical chemical processes are activated to support recovery, memory formation, and overall health. Understanding these processes can help explain why sleep is so essential. First, melatonin production. This is produced by the pineal gland in response to darkness. It regulates the sleep-wake cycle by promoting drowsiness and lowering body temperature. It's suppressed by exposure to artificial light, particularly blue light. Next, adenosine accumulation and clearance. It builds up during wakefulness, promoting sleepiness by binding to specific receptors in the brain. It's cleared away during sleep, particularly deep sleep, allowing the brain to refresh and restore. Caffeine, by the way, blocks adenosine receptors, temporary delaying sleepiness. That's how caffeine works. Next hormone, cortisol. We often talk about cortisol in HealthPointe. Naturally low during deep sleep, and it gradually rises toward morning to promote wakefulness. Again, so in the context of HealthPointe, sometimes we talk about how cortisol, your body, you think about the natural mechanism of and as you're waking up, your body, in its wisdom, understands that you're going to have to start moving and waking up, getting out of bed in our case. And so cortisol signals the liver to release some of that readily available glucose into the bloodstream to kind of fire your muscles and get going. But chronic sleep deprivation disrupts cortisol patterns, increasing stress and reducing restorative sleep. Growth hormone release. This is primarily released during deep sleep. It's aiding in muscle growth, tissue repair, and metabolism. Reduced deep sleep can impair growth hormone, negatively impacting recovery. Lymphatic system activation. This is pretty interesting, and I'll unpack it a bit. So the brain's waste clearance system, it's active during deep sleep. So this removes metabolic waste products like amyloid beta, which is linked to Alzheimer's disease.
Right.
So we'll go down the kind of the rabbit hole a bit on this. The lymphatic system is the brain's waste clearance mechanism, primarily active during deep sleep. It flushes out metabolic waste such as amyloid beta, a protein linked to Alzheimer's disease. This process occurs as cerebrospinal fluid, you see it as CSF, flows into the brain along pathways around blood vessels, driven by the pulsing arteries. I just find it fascinating. This is all happening while we're sleeping. The CFF mixes with interstitial fluid, which is the fluid between the brain cells, collecting waste products like amyloid beta and other toxins. This mixture then drains out through lymphatic vessels and in the meninges, which is the brain's protective layers, carrying the waste to the body's lymphatic system for disposal. Sleep enhances this flushing by increasing CSF flow and expanding the spaces where it travels, making deep rest crucial for brain health. Poor sleep may impair this process, allowing waste buildup that could contribute to neurodegenerative diseases. Okay, moving on to some neurotransmitter fluctuations. So GABA, sometimes we hear about GABA, which is gamma aminobutyric acid is what GABA stands for. This primary inhibitory neurotransmitter promoting relaxation and reducing neural activity. So it's a relaxant. Acetylcholine. This spikes during REM sleep, aiding learning and memory. Dopamine. This peaks during the morning, promoting wakefulness and alertness. Serotonin supports mood regulation and melatonin production, continuing to restful sleep. So those are 4 of the neurotransmitters. So what are the best practices for good sleep hygiene? Now that we understand how essential sleep is for our bodies and minds, how do we ensure we're getting enough of it? The answer lies in adopting healthy sleep habits and practicing good sleep hygiene. Here are some effective strategies. Maintain a consistent sleep schedule. Go to bed and wake up at the same time daily, even on weekends. Create a sleep-friendly environment. Keep your bedroom cool, dark, and quiet. Use blackout curtains or a sleep mask if screen time before bed. Avoid screens at least an hour before bedtime to prevent blue light interference. Monitor caffeine intake. Avoid caffeine in the afternoon and evening. Or if you're my wife, Emily, who is on this this morning, who is very sensitive to caffeine, don't have any caffeine after like 10 a.m. because it will still be keeping her awake at night. So monitor caffeine intake. Develop a relaxing bedtime routine. Reading, meditation, or light stretching helps signal your body it's time to rest. Exercise regularly. Daily physical activity enhances sleep quality, but avoid vigorous exercise close to bedtime. So just have that gap, you know, if you do an evening workout or something. And then avoid heavy meals and alcohol. Both can interfere with restorative sleep, especially if consumed near bedtime. And then lastly, because we are a product-based model as well as you know, the education on the HealthPointe 6-week cycle, many of you on here would be aware of our amazing new magnesium product. So magnesium can be a supplement that can have a lot of beneficial attributes to it, but one of the things that it can help with is sleep as well. And it was interesting as I was kind of preparing this, I did not realize that more than 50% of Americans aren't getting their daily recommended magnesium. So, you know, there's our products are helpful as well on that front. So with that, I'm going to, well, that wraps it for me, I should say. I'll anybody that has any questions or comments or round robins or anything else like that, feel free to chime in. Otherwise, we'll move on to our next docket item with Carol. But anybody have any comments or questions? Or did I put everybody to sleep with my talk? So
Having a teenager in my family right now, one of the things that made me think of when you talk about growth is just how teenagers tend to sleep a lot. And that's usually the time period when they're growing a lot.
It's a good point. It's a very good point. Yeah. Um, yeah, we all can probably think of, those are in our family or extended, or I think of one of our nephews. He's gigantic, by the way. My brother is about my size, but his wife, my sister-in-law, comes from a very tall family. And Lucas is literally like, I don't know what he is. He's towers. He's probably 6'3", 6'4", and he's now a freshman in college. I don't know, like size 13 feet. And that boy, that young man now, when my brother and sister-in-law would talk about the amount of sleep that he got, I mean, he was like a bear. I mean, it's like he's awake for like 1 hour and asleep for like 23 hours. But no, he would go to bed early and then wake up very, very late morning, when he could do it, but good point. Dave. Growing like that, when teenagers of any size or growth spurt are, going through that, babies are another one, right? Babies. Babies obviously are growing and developing, and I think babies are either pooping or sleeping, right? That's kind of eating, pooping, or sleeping. They don't do much else, but they do a lot of sleeping. And so, good point, David. Any other thoughts, comments on this topic of, I'll tell you on this sleep. I mean, we all have our strengths and weaknesses in terms of health and wellness. I'll be candid and transparent. This is an area that I need to get better in, and I am getting better in. And Emily can call me out on this if I'm stretching the truth here. But no, I'm guilty of. I'm an early riser. No problem on that. But I need to counterbalance that with getting to bed earlier. And it's really not that hard. If I actually get into bed, it's pretty much lights out, no matter if but instead of doing it at 12 o'clock or 11:30 or 1:30, if I get into bed at 9:30, or I think last night, I think it was around 10. That's great. I just gotta do that and work on that. So I need to improve in this area.
Hey, Eric.
Hey, Pam, how are you?
Good. Did your article say anything about those people who tend to be nocturnal, where their sleep pattern, not because of a job or anything, but their sleep pattern tends to be they're up in the night and then, might be sleeping till 2 o'clock in the afternoon? That's just kind of their nature. Is there anything about that, or anybody? I've got two people in my family, one who's not a family member, but boyfriend of our daughter. And it just seems like that's his sleep pattern. And a niece of mine. And I was just curious, is there anything going on there that maybe I could give him a supplement that would be helpful?
That's a good question. The quick answer, at least from me, maybe somebody else has some insight on this, is there wasn't anything in my research, and I'm not aware of it. And actually, what prompted me to dig into this right now, Emily and I were talking about this recently, is actually in some certification that I'm going through right now. We're very extensive on a module on sleep, and I can tell you nowhere in there does it talk about this night owl effect in terms of any kind of like biological or physiological aspect of it. So not to say that there isn't something, just nothing that is in the certification that I'm going through right now in health and wellness or on any of my research. My experience, and this is just anecdotal, obviously, everybody's bio individual, and you would know these individuals, obviously more than any of us. But my anecdotal experience, even with myself, is that it's a pattern. If I am naturally not a night owl. So my natural happy place is, to get my sleep, and then I'm up typically around 5:30 and cylinders. Okay. And that's definitely not a night owl. So to have me doing like cognitive or any other kind of quote unquote work, mental work or physical work, at 1 or 2 in the morning, like a night owl typically would be, is not natural to me. However, if I have, and I've done this before, where I've gotten in a strong late afternoon nap, so I've gotten that sleep, I can fire after midnight, no problem. And I think if I did that habitually, I could do that and all the time, and then people would call me a night owl, like you're talking about those two people. So I don't know the science on this or how much truth there is. That's just my experience. I think it's more of if somebody can adjust. It's kind of like people that work midnight shifts. They learn to become a night owl. But yeah, beyond that, that's all I've got. Any other thoughts from people on that, on Pam's question?
I think, Eric, that the word you use, habitual or habit, is really key here. And again, I don't have any, certainly don't have any background on this except personal experience, just dealing with people. And I'm going to step over here in the shade. So let's see, a week and a half ago, we had our granddaughter and her husband and their 2 little babies with us. And one's 9 months old and the other is 2.5. And so she texted me and she said, just so that you kind of know a little bit, and we're not 100% stringent on this, but this makes the day go really, really well. And she laid out the schedule. Now, this is for babies, okay? And I can tell you back from when I brought up 3 little boys, that schedule was an extremely, extremely valuable part of my bringing them up. And so she had where the 9-month-old baby took a morning nap. She knew exactly when that baby was getting up. Morning nap, then they'd have lunch, and then they'd both go down from 1 to 4. The baby a little bit less because it was 2 naps for her, but scheduled and in bed by 7:30, and then they'd sleep all night. Now we had a couple of hiccups because they were obviously in strange spots, but very minimal when you think about 2 children that age. And I really attribute that to her determination to have habits for these children, so that the day falls into place well. And it just kind of reminded me how important sometimes you have to gradually force a little habit here and there. Babies, you can do it right at the get-go, but older people, I would say, nocturnal people, and again, I don't deal with that either, but I would say that if gradually they could move their day up, their sleep up a little bit, then their body would probably wake up a little bit earlier too, and then 2 o'clock. So that might be something that they want to just very gradually. This would not be something that you would do overnight because obviously that's pretty extreme, a nocturnal. But maybe they could try doing that. The other question I did have though, Eric, was on napping, because I have 2 types of days. I have a day when I'm gone all day, all afternoon. Mornings are intense, mental, intense. So by afternoon, I need a break unless I'm out somewhere. If I'm out somewhere, I'm going to go to bed earlier because I haven't had a nap. If I'm home and I continue to do some things around the home that are more restful, I am a very, very good napper. but it does alter the sleep schedule. Is there anything said pro or con about the power of napping, good or bad?
The only thing, by the way, and again, Emily can attest to this, right? We all know our spouse's sleeping habits. So I am very much like you as well, Carol. And particularly on the weekend. So I will routinely get that, that nap in the afternoon. The only thing that is mentioned in the studies that I've gone through is not saying definitively whether napping is like good or bad, but rather to make it clear that it's not a substitute for the full night of sleep, that full 7 to 9 hours of sleep to be able to go through, those cycles, which we didn't talk about in this segment, but I think a lot of people have heard of, like, light sleep, and then REM sleep or REM sleep, which stands for rapid eye movement, and then deep sleep. So a nap, typical nap will not have enough duration, enough time to fully go down into those deep restorative, reparative cycles that a 7 to 9 hours at night will allow for. But other than that, I haven't personally in my studies seen anything that says like napping is bad. But with the caveat that saying if you do nap, and let's say you did it chronically, let's say you napped every day, and as a result of that, you only slept 4 to 5 hours at night. Well, that would probably be something that should be, you work to, modify that so that you have a longer full night's rest. So that's the only things that I know on napping. I don't know if anybody else has any, but I'm the same way. In fact, I will tell you that, weekends in particular, again, this is when we're at home, not traveling and stuff like that, we'll, do more things, maybe like, pickleball and all that kind of stuff. And then I really enjoy that mid-afternoon, coming home, going into the cave, the man cave, and just, lights out. I am sawing logs. Probably not that long. I would say maybe, half hour to an hour, maybe. But then I pop up, and then I actually will have either one of our excess energy drinks, usually a rhodiola, and it's like another morning to me. And I'm like, woohoo, this is great. And then but that's only like once or twice a week that I do that.
Is there anything in there about dreams? Did they suggest anything about dreams or the brain? I think dreams, if I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong, seem to happen just before you wake up. We think we dream all night long, but usually dreams, from my understanding, is something that occurs very just before you wake up.
Right.
So have you read anything about that?
A bit, only in terms of like the kind of focusing on the physiological part of it. Of course, when it comes to dreams, there's a lot that could be talked about, I suppose, on dreams, in terms of, everything from the physiological to, interpreting them, right? That could be another tangent that some people are curious about on dreams. But just in terms of the physiological, it's thought that that is actually how the brain is kind of processing memories. I don't know a lot about it, and I haven't had a large segments on it in the studies that I'm going through, but that's what they spoke of is, and the way I thought of it, and this probably isn't how a lot of people think of it, but kind of like how, computers will store things on a hard drive. There's a process for taking in, this data and then processing it and storing it, and then, having it in a place that be utilized. That's the way I thought about, the dreaming. Now, why it has to be in a vivid dream story, weird, sometimes like really weird dreams. I have no idea. I mean, why it can't be just, let's just process our memories and call it good. Why does it have to have me, walking, in a sea of peanut butter, being chased by wolves and it raining raccoons? I don't know why it has to be that in order to process my memories. And if anybody can interpret that one, see me, I'll be, come see me. I need help with that one. But yeah, but it's apparently just to process our memories and apparently emotions.
I just wondered if it was like a form of housekeeping, like you said, flushing out the different toxins and things. Not that those are the dreams are toxic, but just flushing out material you're not using anymore, so to speak. And I don't know.
Yeah, good question, and I don't know either. I know though, like you say, that part about flushing out the toxins, that's such a powerful element of our sleep, and just so fascinating that that's going on. And how those, call it toxins, how that builds up during the day, and then we have this cycle at night where I think of it almost like the taking out the trash. The garbage truck is coming and it's gonna load those babies up and flush them out, and this is all going on while you're have raccoons raining down from the sky and you're walking in peanut butter. I don't know. But it's doing its job. It's taking out the trash.
Well, that's probably, I was going to just say, Eric, that's probably why they say, if you're angry about something, go sleep on it. And then in the morning, the toxic anger or frustration has washed from the emotions more, and then you can deal with it more rationally.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah, and answers to questions too. Hank always says answers to questions. If you've got a problem you're trying to solve, sleep on it. So tying right in with what you're saying, Pam.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, sleep. I mean, how many of us have gone to bed with a problem and woke up and boy, there's the answer. It was I think it was one of the great inventors. It might have been Edison. I want to say it was Edison, actually built this into his routine where he would take naps. He was a big napper, and he would sit in a chair and he would hold, I don't know if it was a marble or a coin in his hand, kind of off the arm of the chair. So what he was trying to do is, just as he went into that sleep cycle, he wanted to, with a problem on his mind, maybe he's trying to figure out another light bulb or something with electricity, he would want to wake up. And so what would happen is, as he fell asleep and his arm and hand would relax, that marble or coin would fall out of his hand and hit the floor, and it would wake him up. And then he would have his notepad next to him, and he would think, and and often he said a lot of his problem solving, his solutions came to him in that method. So yeah, I think you're right.
There's one other thing. Go ahead, sorry.
Go ahead. Yeah, that's it.
Well, I was going to say there's one other thing that certainly Hank knows, and that is because by the time you go to bed, you want to just immediately go to sleep. And so I know sometimes couples have a tendency to chat before they go to sleep. Well, that doesn't work in our household, because if we chat, then my brain gets awake and it goes into activity mode again. And it takes that much longer to get it out of that, where if you can, like you said, read, meditate, whatever you do to trim down, don't wake it up again when you hit the pillow. Continue it on.
Do you hear that, Emily? Emily, do you hear that?
I think I have a pain. I spilled something here.
We're treading on we're thin ice here, right? But yeah, that pillow talk,
Yeah.
Chatty Cathy, as Eric has the adenosine accumulation building up in his brain, and he just wants to lights out, kind of engaging in that Chatty Cathy pillow talk is like.
Oh,
See, I thought I was the only one that had that problem.
Gonna say, yeah, you got a Chatty Cathy, and I'm true to my name. My mom named me right. I just walked into the other room and I told Dave, I said, I heard it, and he kind of smiled. How did we know that walk-in talks could provide marriage counseling at the same time? All roads lead to HealthPointe.
Oh, Lord.
I'm loving
Oh,
HealthPointe
my.
more and more now. Thank you, guys.
Oh yeah, David's like, woohoo! Yeah, this is the episode of the year for.
Oh, okay, here's
This
another
is being
tip, guys.
recorded, right?
Yes, this is recorded. We'll never have an episode that more people will tune into and take notes on, probably. No sending this episode to your spouse. If your spouse isn't on this, it's not
Yeah,
fair
right.
to send them a link and say, hey, just thought you would like this. By the way, at the 42-minute mark, there's something that might be really intriguing to you.
There's another tip that I found, and this is just within me personally, and that is when I sit down for the evening and I'm going to, I say put up my gone fishing sign. That means nothing's happening after that. I make sure I've washed my face, brushed my teeth, done skincare before I sit down, open the bed, so that by the time you are, ready to stream into your bed and continue on going to sleep, that you don't have to do those things. Because if you don't, then you get up, you're all primed to slide into the next level of slumber, and boom, you got to wash your face, put your skincare on, brush your teeth, and by that time you're awake again. That's just as good as a conversation. So for women, that's particularly important.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, you're nailing this point that was suggested here, where it says develop a relaxing bedtime routine. You have that routine, and that all those elements that you covered are kind of signaling your body it should be getting ready for going to sleep, and that's very key for sure. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and since I'm not picking on Emily, but I'm just kind of calling out everybody's stuff. That's Emily's really good about that. She has her nighttime routine, and so and does a better job for sure at getting to bed at a good time, and she's gently not nagging, gently nudging. It's the good end, gently nudging me. No, I need to work on that, but she is very good at her bedtime routine and getting to bed at a good hour. And on the flip side of the Chatty Cathy at night, for those of us that are Energizer bunnies in the morning, if your spouse isn't, don't wake up and start firing on them don't go 0 to 80 on them. David, I know you've talked about that a little bit, where you and Chris, and so there's that. We got the big head nod going by David. It's so yeah, be kind to your partner, be kind to your spouse. Whether it's at night and they're just wanting to zonk, and then if you're an Energizer bunny in the morning, give them a beat, let them wake up before you start rattling off some big conversational structure to them. All right.
You know,
So,
we have the benefit of having multiple bedrooms in our home, and one of our rooms is a spa room, and that's where it's a spare bedroom actually, but it's set up to be a reading, meditation, prayer, figuring out things room. And it's very, very good for me because I can close the door, complete silence, and I don't deal with Hank, and Hank doesn't deal with me. He, on the other hand, has his man cave. And so when we wake up in the morning, if it's relatively similar times, I make my tea, immediately go in that room with my stuff. And he immediately does his thing and goes in his man cave room. So then, because I am a early morning processor, and by the time I've done whatever I want to do in prayer, meditation, what have you, and I start getting into business building stuff or just other kind of creative stuff, by the time Hank opens my spa room door, it's like there's a tornado in there of creativity that's going on, and I have got the world's problem solved, and I am like hanging from the rafters, excited about what's going on. So he's in his absolutely wonderful patience. He'll sit down and he'll listen to me, but I'm thinking I am like watering this guy. I am totally flooding him. So he's okay, hon, that sounds great. Then he gets up and closes the door, goes back to his man cave.
he's grabbing the gone fishing sign for you to close the door and hang up.
This woman is a nutcase. But that's what comes with 61 years of marriage. You learn how to deal with the other person.
Yeah.
And he's been a master at that, because I probably haven't been very easy to deal with.
That's so funny. I'm finding that we are definitely similar, Carol, on this element. And it's funny, we've known each other a long time, but I think Emily can speak to the same thing where, yeah, by the time she's kind of starting to engage, she's getting her morning routine going, I'm already, 0 to 60, firing. And, she just kind of is barely awake and, wasn't Nancy says kind of blinking at you like a toad caught in a hailstorm, just kind of like blink, 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 her brain
don't enter the room if
just,
you don't want the tornado.
That's right. Oh, this is fun. See, we have so much fun here for those that don't that do want to get their sleep in the morning and miss all of this wonderful Saturday morning walk and talk. Look at what you're missing here. Good stuff. Well, we could probably do lots more on sleep. It's such a fun topic, very important, and it's one of those things that weaves consistently throughout all of humanity, right? We all have our different cultures and foods and behaviors, but we all sleep, and so that's a very powerful topic for sure. Very powerful. Carol, I know that you had some stuff from Dr. Chet, and we've got another good we started a bit late this morning, so we've got about a good 10-15 minutes here, so if you'd like to.
Okay. Mine isn't real long, but it's something that in my waking up this morning, I came across this, and I actually had read it a couple days ago, and I thought, well, this just, again, it's no earth-shattering information. It just reminds us, as I think Kathy said earlier, all roads lead to HealthPointe. And so this is Dr. Chet, and it says it's going to be a while. And speaking of it, he's got a picture of nighttime with all kinds of clocks. So we're talking about sleep. But anyway, so he says, in his last memo, when will we get something better? We looked at research on a new drug to counter obesity. They keep looking for these drugs to counter obesity. I mean, how long are we going to be doing this before we get it? Anyway, that's not in the article. The researchers developed a sophisticated algorithm and used AI to find the process and the potential obesity protein hormone to help combat obesity. What's next? Several years or longer of clinical trials to test its effectiveness and safety in human beings. Oh, that's what's next, in safety in human beings. If it works, it will be another pharmaceutical solution to obesity. More ching-ching, right? That's my little input on that. And a step better than GLP-1 agonists currently available, such as your semaglutide drugs. Two of the researchers hold the patent for the process and the protein itself, but there are no shortcuts on the science. In my opinion, the problem is this. That's not really the solution. They're looking for a pharmaceutical solution. This protein, called BRG for short, will still have to be regulated like a pharmaceutical, made like a pharmaceutical, and prescribed as such, even though it's a natural hormone made in the body. Where the research should focus is on a natural way to stimulate the body to upregulate, turn on the gene or genes with diet, exercise, or some other natural means. Turning specific genes on and off is where we want to be, not creating companies and chemicals that will create a single molecule. It's just the wrong approach to me. It may very well work, but it's not natural in any way. I'm not suggesting that people with massive obesity won't benefit from it, but it's treating the symptoms of the problem, not the problem itself. The problem is that because we overeat the wrong foods while not moving enough, genes have become unregulated and stay that way. We need solutions that help us to get to downregulating these genes so that weight loss can become permanent. Eat less, eat better, move more for life. And it just, again, goes back to the healthy habits that we talk about. The book that Kathy so beautifully recommended to us probably a year ago on the negatives, getting rid of the negatives in the mind. And interestingly enough, that book, excuse me, is the recommended book for Network 21 this month. So in talking about HealthPointe, I had brought up that book that Kathy found quite by accident in the hospital. And we've all been reading, and it's kind of become our first go-to book before Atomic Habits. And so, you read and read and read. And I mean, I have emails, multiple emails every day that are talking about this drug's better than Ozempic, and that drug's better than this. And this one now is a shot in the stomach, but this one is cheaper. And none of them are cheap, quite honestly. And the bottom line is we all got to get a grip on things. That's really the bottom line. And if they would just come and say, you need a coach, you need somebody to work with, but there's natural things that got you where you are, and there's natural things that for most part will get you back to where you were. And that's what HealthPointe's all about. And so I just like that article because it just reminds me that you can take all the AI and all the drugs and all the shots, and basically what you're doing is you're just selling yourself out to pharmaceutical companies if you get on those things, because they're forever drugs. They don't go away. You don't change your habits by turning off your hunger mechanism. You change your habits by eating healthy, allowing your body to assimilate sleep, like you said, Eric, today, exercise so that you want to sleep, eat your proper meals, know what to eat, know to snack in between, know to supplement because you're not getting it in the meals. Those are real basics, but those are the basics that are very well going to add years and years and years to your life. And a lot of people, when they look at the HealthPointe program, I think some people feel, well, I'm, X number of pounds overweight. That's such a long haul. I don't think I can do it. Or I'm at this age and my system is shutting down. My metabolism is low. I don't think I can wear off what I'm eating, all of those excuses. And then people pop up. And two in particular just came across our desk that are Eileen's clients and Eileen herself. But there's many, many other people too. It's just these happen to just come across the desk. Both of them a little bit older. They're not in their 20s. And both of them losing massive amounts of weight. And so it just tells me that if a person is in the right mind frame and is willing to work with their coach, I believe they can do this in a really, really huge percentage of time. So I just wanted to share that article. I thought it just keeps driving that point back, Eric.
Yeah, no, I love that. And, you know, when you're talking about these pharmaceuticals, it's, again, you know, have the long view. You know, let's go beyond what's my quick fix for this month? Let's get it out 6 months. How about 2 years? How about 5 years? How about 10 years? And if somebody is choosing that tool, that pharmaceutical to try to lose weight, can they imagine taking that 10 years from now? Right.
That's right. Yeah.
And for most people, I kind of think that, you know, people maybe don't think that, you know, I think if more people did think about it, it would just kind of factor into their decision making. Whereas, like you're saying, you know, here with HealthPointe programs like that, you know, this is wonderful. This is forever. Many of us have been in, you know, lifetime maintenance mode for years, and this is for the rest of your life. And you don't have to pack along, you know, a bunch of syringes or needles or whatever, you know, to inject a drug to try to alter your appetite. And, you know, so there's a great amount of freedom that comes with developing it the way the body, you know, naturally, you know, works. So no, great article. Haven't heard Dr. Chet in a while. That guy's an amazing guy and full of great articles and wisdom. I haven't heard of him in a while, so that's excellent.
The other thing too is that people don't realize how expensive these drugs are. You know, they're I believe it's $1,000 a month. Somebody can correct me, but I'm pretty sure it was $1,000. It's at least $1,000 a month. It might be $1,000 a week for all I know. I don't know, but it's expensive. And the thing is that it's a forever thing. And when we think of HealthPointe and we squinch a little bit at saying, okay, you know, your healthy bundle is, or your everyday solutions bundle is, you know, this much money. Well, you know, that's a drop in the bucket, and it's solving a problem because your coach is going to help you, and your coach comes free, for goodness sakes. If the coach charged $750 and we charge $250 for the supplements and protein powder, it would still be less expensive than any of these. And it's an end. There's an end here. The end is you've learned how to eat properly, and now you just minimally, you know, get what you need to keep yourself going on a monthly basis. So just from a dollars and cents standpoint. So
Christine says amen.
What's that?
Christine says amen.
Yeah. There's a great example. Tell Chris.
Oh, Chris got on the program and she embraced the process, and she lost about 20 pounds a year for the first 4 years. And then she went on maintenance. And then over the next 10 years, she lost another 20 pounds, a total of 100.
It kept it up for how long now, David?
It's been more than 10 years.
Yeah.
Yep. Right. Yeah, that's, you know, what a powerful example of that. So, and I do know that a lot of those GLPs are around that dollar amount, Carol, around $1,000 a month. So let's just say, you know, Chris, and instead of doing the HealthPointe journey, 10 year, well, that's $12,000 a year, right? $120,000. Wow. Now, some
And the
people
thing
might
is,
say, go ahead.
no, you go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, some people might think or say, but well, insurance will pay for it. Well, don't be so quick on that, because my understanding and talking with people, and I have talked with a number of people that have elected to do the GLP-1 route, is that, well, one in particular told me that the way it's working with her insurance, because everybody's insurance is different and everything, but the way it's working with her is, and this is kind of cruel when you think about this, to qualify for the insurance coverage, which doesn't pay for it all, but it pays for part of it, you have to have certain obesity biomarkers, right? I don't remember what that was specifically, but let's just say that your BMI was, putting that client, that patient, in a obesity status. So then let's just say that they're taking this GLP-1 and insurance is covering it, and it's month 1, month 2, month 3. At some point with their weight loss, what happens to their BMI? It reduces, and then it falls into the healthy range. You think, hurrah. No, she's freaking out, because then her insurance stops. It says you no longer qualify for this drug. You no longer qualify for this insurance for this, because you're in a healthy BMI range. You're not obese anymore. Well, it sounds wonderful, except, it's not, because now she's off the drug, then no healthy habits, no lifestyle choice, no coaching, nothing that has changed at the root cause level. So what happens? She, yo-yos back up, or just the anxiety of knowing that at some point you either drop off of insurance and then you're paying $1,000 a month yourself out of pocket to continue this, or you pull off of this and then the hunger comes back, and then you start putting the weight back on. It's kind of a cruel cycle for this insurance reimbursement part. At least it was with her. I don't know for all, but that's just something, again, for people to consider. Again, with the HealthPointe program, so many of these, products, people are already partially budgeting for them anyways. That's what I find. I just recently, I just onboarded somebody yesterday, and they asked, well, I've got these other supplements that I've been taking. What should I do with them? It wasn't an antagonistic question. It was just a matter of fact. She was just wondering what to do. But the point is that a lot of people are already spending money for products. And then when you consider things like protein powders and stuff like that, that is, I know with Emily and I, particularly when we travel, our protein powder probably saves us, oh my gosh, so much on the hotel breakfasts, because we'll just have some fruit and our protein powder for a breakfast in the morning, instead of the $25, $35 hotel breakfast. Between the two of us, that's $50 to $70 a morning, and we're eating a healthier breakfast with our product and a piece of fruit. So it really does work out economically, for sure. All right. Well, where has the hour gone? Anybody else have any parting shots on their sleep partner before we wrap up? We had so much fun with that. Oh boy. Might have hit the hornet's nest on this episode. We'll see if nobody's back next week. But barring that, we will be back next week, same time, same place, next Saturday, for those that want to catch us live. Again, for those that don't, are unable to, maybe different time zones, we'll get these uploaded onto the Voices of HealthPointe YouTube channel. So with that, we'll say
Also,
goodbye.
reminder about Connect this afternoon.
Yes, yes. Connect for those coaches, business owners. We've got an amazing, let me just, I guess, a couple minutes on that, Carol. We've got the amazing Dr. Stu Mann, who is an absolute expert on HealthPointe. We've got Jamie Allison, right?
Yeah.
And I am, is it the Levitts? I believe it's the Australians. Anyhow, for those that are attending, great. Those that are wondering what the heck we're talking about, talk with your coach, and maybe they can have a watch party with you or something. It's from 4 to 6. It's going to be just jam-packed with fun, very, very informative content, very geared towards HealthPointe. So thanks for bringing that up. I guess while we're on this little bit of a reminder thing too, Monday night, 8 p.m. for 30 minutes, because it's kind of a big one. We're wrapping up our current cohort, our current HealthPointe 6-week cycle. For those that are on that cycle, sometimes people are on different cycles, but if they're on this 2025 cycle, we are wrapping that cohort up. And actually Monday, this coming Monday, April 7th, is day 1 of the 3rd cycle of the year. So the day 1 of the 6 weeks. And that will be 8 p.m. Again, we have a support Zoom. Coaches are welcome. Aspiring coaches are welcome. Clients are welcome. Aspiring, so basically everybody is welcome. Everybody's welcome. And that's Carol keeps it very, very well structured, and very well timed. It starts at 8. If you come in, we'll tell you that unlike the health or the walk and talk, if you are the doors stay open till 8:05. That's Eastern Standard Time, 8:05. If you pop in at 8:06, it's not Carol, it's not me. It's we'll name her, we'll call her out. Her name is Beth. She will not open that Zoom door. You are barred from it. So come a couple minutes early, or certainly before 8:05, and you will be welcome. And it will wrap up at 30 minutes later or sooner at 8:30. And it's a wonderful program on the HealthPointe program. Any other thoughts on that, Carol, or the Connect this afternoon?
No, just a reminder on the Connect is that I believe there is a 7-day replay. So if you see it and you think, oh my goodness, so-and-so, oh, my new client should have heard Dr. Mann, or should have heard this, or should have heard that. You can sit down with them during the week. My understanding is still a 7-day replay for Connects, and we review that with them. So I want to remind folks of that. Or if they have a work schedule where they're working during that period of time.
Right, right. But no afternoon naps, no Saturday afternoon naps during the 4 o'clock Connect for us nappers out there. So, all right. Well, this has been an amazing, fun time together. Thanks, everyone. We had a lot of fun. Thanks for everyone that contributed and yucked it up during this session. We'll see everyone same time, same place next Saturday. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thanks,
Adios.
Eric.